Each of us dreams of a life that feels steady and safe. But the world can be harsher than we expect. We grow up, find a job, fall in love, get married, and somewhere along the way we look back and wonder, were the choices we made truly the ones we wanted? I ask you now, is anyone here feeling what I feel? I grew up in a house where the front door stuck in summer. My father would lean his shoulder into that door, the same way he leaned into problems. There was always a fix. Sometimes it was duct tape. Sometimes it was extra hours. He believed that love came with duties. And those duties made a family. You took the early shift. You shoveled the snow before anyone else woke up. You kept your promises. And in return, as you trusted that the home would stay loyal to the hands that held it up. When I got married, I brought that map with me. I wasn't a saint. I was just a man who kept stepping forward. There were apartments with thin walls. And then a starter home with a brave little lawn. There were Saturday mornings at youth soccer games and weeknights when cleats sat by the door like wet stones. I learned the new language of adult life. Mortgage, $401K, 2 weeks at the shore, when the budget allowed. A tired dog that still wagged when the garage door opened. I measured my love in things repaired. In miles driven. And in the quiet way, I learned to breathe beside another person. We were not perfect. We argued about the same 3 things every marriage argues about: money, time, in-laws. But I held on to a simple faith. If I stayed loyal and carried the weight, the house would stay loyal to me. It was the same equation my father had taught me. Without words. He stood in a church basement once, holding coffee in a plastic cup, and patted me on the back after my wedding. He said, "Just keep showing up." That was the sermon. Years passed and the list of duties grew. Work asked for more. The phone never stopped blinking. I learned to send quick texts from parking lots, to apologize for missing the moment, to promise that the next season would be lighter. The next season rarely was. We had calendars on the fridge and calendars on our phones, and still the days ran like water through our fingers. I missed a school play once and told myself never again. Then I missed a second one because a client pushed a meeting into the evening and I decided to keep the roof steady. I thought the house understood my math. Trade one night for the next 1,000. That was the bargain I knew. I do not think anyone means to hurt anyone in a family. I think we get tired. We get lonely. And we start to keep score with tiny pencils. We begin to notice what didn't arrive. The hug when we walked in. The question about how the day really went. The hand that reached out when we turned off the light. No one teaches us how to ask for what we need without making it sound like a complaint. So we speak in sighs. We speak by walking into the other room. The distance doesn't appear in a single stride. It shows up in evening routines that no longer overlap. I believed the seasons would settle if I just kept showing up. That loyalty would meet loyalty. I believed that because for a long time, it seemed to be true. Then came the emails that started formal and ended casual. Then came the late meetings that didn't need to be late. Then came a new set of phrases I had never heard in our kitchen. I'm unfulfilled. I'm not sure this is me. I need space. Those words didn't explode the house. They thinned it. Rooms got larger and colder. I started sleeping on my side of the bed like a guest. I didn't know how to argue with feelings that arrived like weather. When the papers came, they were printed on heavy stock. The county seal had a little shine. I signed where I was told to sign. I stood in a hallway with a vending machine that took exact change and wondered how a decade could be sorted into envelopes. Friends told me I would be fine. That time would fix it. Time fixes some things. It also makes some truths visible. I kept returning to the same thought. I had given the part of me that knows how to keep going. I couldn't be angry at a storm. I could only decide what to do next. I walked to the parking lot, sat in the truck, and let the engine idle until the dashboard clock rolled to the next minute like a small verdict. When the ink on those papers dried, I thought the hardest part was over. But pain has an echo. It shows up in quiet parking lots, in the bleachers at practice, in the empty seat at the dinner table. It shows up in the sound of your own voice when you say goodnight to a child who will sleep somewhere else that evening. I started hearing other stories like mine almost everywhere. A man at church told me about Thursdays. He drops off his son at baseball, sits in his truck with a paperback and a thermos, and waits for practice to end. He used to sit in the bleachers with his wife. Now they trade weeks. He said the worst part wasn't the silence in the house. It was watching his son glance toward the fence every time a cheer came from the stands. Then there was Mike. Mike has the kind of hands that can rewire a house, fix an engine, carry a sleeping child from the car to bed. He told me he tried to be the perfect mix of steady and exciting. He cooked. He saved for college. He remembered birthdays. He was strong but soft in the right moments. But no matter how many boxes he checked, new ones kept appearing. Be ambitious, but be home for dinner. Open up more, but don't bring stress into the room. Lead, but not too much. He said it felt like running a race where the finish line moved forward every time he got close. I realized this wasn't just about me. Men around me weren't angry, they were tired. Not bitter. Just worn thin. It wasn't that love had conditions. Love always had some. But those conditions used to be about building something together. Now they felt tied to moods, to lifestyle preferences, to shifting feelings that couldn't be measured or predicted. You can build a porch together if you share a plan. You can't build anything if the blueprint changes every afternoon. I looked back at the stories we were fed. Fathers on TV turned into jokes. Romantic comedies taught us to chase, to sacrifice, to prove ourselves, no matter what, even if we were disrespected along the way. Commercials made the husband the bumbling fool who needed saving. We learned the wrong dance. And when we stepped on each other's toes, we were told it was because we didn't try hard enough. Over time, I stopped thinking of my story as a failure. I started seeing a pattern. Marriages falling apart after decades. Fathers erased from homes they built. Friends with the same quiet stare sitting at the same bar on Friday nights. Men don't stop believing in love after one heartbreak. They stop after years of watching the same scene play out like reruns. This is not rage. This is recognition. One night, I was paying for dinner at a small diner. The waitress called me friend. The bread was warm. The coffee was cheap. And I realized how many hours of my life were spent making this moment possible. That check covered the food. But it didn't show the miles driven. The extra shift taken. The fence fixed before dark. For years. I believed that these hidden investments would speak for me. That they would vote in my favor when life got hard. But votes don't always count in kitchens. I could tell you about divorce rates, custody schedules, court papers. But those numbers are not the part that keeps a man awake. It's the empty chair on your kid's birthday because the schedule said it was the other week. It's the text you send from an apartment so quiet you can hear the fridge click. It's realizing you kept your end of a deal that no longer exists. And let me be clear. This is not about turning women into villains or men into martyrs. This is about clarity. The rules changed. Culture wrote a new checklist and forgot to tell us when it changed. Be safe but adventurous. Be strong but gentle. Make money but be home at 5. Love endlessly, but do not expect permanence. It's not a sin to want more out of love. It's cruel. Though, to pretend that anyone can meet 10 rules that contradict each other. A nurse friend of mine, Rosa, once told me that what hurts patients most is not pain, but expectation. Pain they can endure. False expectation crushes them. I wrote that down and stared at it in grocery aisles. When we expect love to be a movie, but it turns out to be real life, we call it failure, when really, it's just reality. For a long time, I believed that if I just found the right words, the right grand gesture, and the house would come back together. Then I stopped aiming for a door that no longer existed. I started asking better questions. Who am I when love does? I'm not promise me tomorrow. What kind of man am I when loyalty isn't guaranteed by sacrifice? The answer began small. I woke up, made the bed, called my kid, even when it wasn't my night. I worked on my body, on my character, on my friendships. I learned to enjoy quiet without calling it loneliness. I stopped begging life to look like a movie and started making it a good story instead. There is a moment that sneaks up on you. It's the drive home on a perfect evening sky, painted in gold, and the seat next to you is empty. You feel the ache, and you don't fight it anymore. You nod at the truth. You loved. It ended. You are still here. I decided my life would be built on what I can keep. My character, my skills, my friendships, my health. A small, warmer house. I maintain myself. Meals around a table with good people, even if there are fewer chairs. I decided that if love comes again, I will welcome it. I will promise what I can keep and ask the same in return. This is not coldness, it is kindness. It is kindness to both of us to define what loyalty means before storms come. To admit love will not feel like a movie most days, but it will look like two people choosing each other on an ordinary Wednesday. It will sound like small words that matter. Thank you. I see you. I am sorry. I forgive you. To any man listening who feels the urge to disappear into his garage forever, solitude can be a shelter, but do not let it become a cell. Step outside, coach a team, call your brother, build something that will outlast this season. To any woman hearing this worried that I am telling men to shut down, I am not. I am asking us to stop lying to each other and to ourselves. Love has always had terms. Let's write them together clearly and keep them. Not just when it's easy. The night I knew I was ready to love again, I didn't make a speech. I made dinner. I set 2 plates, texted a friend who needed company, and let the house be loud again. When I rinsed the dishes, I saw that old chipped coffee mug. I stopped seeing it as broken. I saw proof that something can survive 1,000 small impacts and still be the cup you choose every morning. That is the kind of love I want. Imperfect, resilient, worth keeping. Before you go, I want to leave you with this. If any part of my story felt familiar, take a breath and sit with it for a moment. You are not broken because you are tired. You are not cold because you want clarity. Sometimes, losing the dream is the first step to living a real life you can actually hold. If you are a man sitting alone at your kitchen table tonight, know that you are not invisible. What you gave still mattered. What you lost does not erase what was good. Take care of yourself. Keep building. Keep calling your kids. Keep showing up for the people who still count on you. The world still needs what you carry. If you are a woman listening to this, maybe you love a man who has pulled away, or maybe you wonder why he seems guarded. I hope this helps you see that it is not hate that closes his heart. It is exhaustion. Invite him back gently. Ask him what loyalty looks like to him, what safety feels like. Right. The new rules. Together on a good day when no one is shouting. And to everyone here, if these words gave you even a little light, share them with someone who needs it. Send this to the friend who stays too long at work because he is afraid to go home. To the neighbor who waters his lawn alone every weekend. To the brother who jokes so he doesn't have to tell the truth. Leave me a comment and tell me which part was your turning point. The line that hit you the hardest. When you speak up, someone else will feel brave enough to do the same. If you want more of these conversations, subscribe and stay with me. We are going to keep talking about love, not the picture-perfect kind, but the kind that survives chipped mugs and quiet nights and still chooses to stay. Together we can learn to love without losing ourselves, to keep our dignity and still keep our hearts open.